Hello everybody, this is Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer quick match gameplay. This time around I am playing as the newly released Norsca against the Empire led by Sexy Chihuahua on the map Battle of the Cairns. Obviously Norsca's just come out, so I wanted to give it a shot in quick match. And yeah, we'll see. Just wanted to figure out what kind of builds would work. So the match does start pretty quickly, and I want to go over deployment real quick. So for my lord, I decided to pick Wolfric, kitted him out with everything, including his sword that improves his damage output, and of course he does have stand your ground, the usual buffs. He does standard eye, foe seeker, hunter of champions, of course, sea fang, and then sword of Torgald. Then I have two Skinwolf Werkin. Both of them are equipped, or actually they're flanking over here. Both of them have foe seeker. Both of them have furious onslaught, and both of them have I'm not sure what this ability is called, the ruinous flesh, which gives them missile resistance and 18 armor. And I figure given that they don't have shields and they don't have that much armor, I figured that would be a useful benefit or boost for them. Plus, it does boost nearby allies, so that's also good. Then I brought a Shaman Sorcerer of Death with Fate of Buna. He's on a horse, of course, just to make sure that he can stay away from trouble if needed. Coming in with Fate of Buna and Spirit Leech. My front line is composed of a row of Marauders to soak up fire, 2 rows of Marauder Champions behind them, the three units of Marauders with great weapons behind that, and then the Regiment of Renowned Berserkers, the Brutes of the Hound behind that. They are unbreakable, which in my opinion makes them one of the only decent Berserkers of the bunch. The normal Berserkers don't have unbreakable, so I think they're a bit of a liability. Then Norscan Ice Hounds over here, or Ice Wolves, just to flesh things out a bit, give me a source of frostbite. And over here, Skin Wolves armored, because I figured that in the campaign I've seen that the unarmored Skin Wolves tend to get torn up very quickly. So we're gonna start the game. My opponent's army was Empire, obviously. He brought Karl Franz as his lord. Interesting pick. He didn't bring Galmaraz. As far as I can tell, the mortars are already opening up on my army. He brought 3 units of crossbows, which I think is a very solid choice against Norsca, because most of the Norscan units are very poorly armored. The best armor they have is like about 70 on the Mammoths and Werkin, so nothing too crazy, honestly, for most of their units. An Empire Captain to stiffen that front lineup, always a solid choice. A mix of swordsmen, halberdiers, and greatswords, just kind of a very solid front line to deal with any potential trouble Norsca can bring, because Norsca does have a fairly varied roster of infantry. Then a unit of Demigryph Knights out on the flank with halberds, definitely a bit of a threat. And over here, a unit of Reichsguard. Reichsguard I'm not too worried about because I have a lot of anti-large in my army, or at least a decent amount. I was mostly worried about great swords, and that's why I did bring the Marauders with great weapons to tear through those. You can see the Werkin are incredibly quick. The mortars do absolutely devastating damage to the Marauders, as do the crossbow fire. They simply aren't built for absorbing that sort of damage. In the meantime, though, my Werkin are simply diving straight into the fray. And and as you can see, Karl Franz dives in, the terror bombs me, and immediately the Marauders are breaking and fleeing. They had enough. I do send Wolfric in, though, and in the meantime, I do forget a little bit about my Hounds over here. But in the meantime, my Skin Wolves are coming in over here, slowly working their way up. I'm basically sitting them to counter the Reichsguard. They're a bit cheaper, and I'm hoping that in a straight-up fight they will be capable of taking on the Reichsguard. Great swords over here are getting torn apart. The Werkin have actually managed to charge through them, and now they're being affected by standard die. I did drop Hunter of Champions on Karl Franz, which makes him basically incapable of defending himself in close quarters, and that should make it very easy for Wolfric to hit him. I haven't really gotten any use out of the Sea Fang yet, so we'll see how that works out. Now the Skin Wolves have met the Reichsguard in a head-on charge, and as you can see, it's not going particularly amazing for either side. It's about an even trade. But my goal is to make it potentially uneven. I will shuffle some of the units from over here to help in that fight. And now I'm just trying to pile on top of Karl Franz and knock him down with the combination of Wolfric and the Skin Wolves. Or sorry, the Wolfkin. Or where is it? Werkin? Wow. There you can see I did try to cast the. I simply didn't have a good target for the Sea Fang, and figuring I wasn't going to get a good one anytime soon, I decided to pop it. Over here, I did drop the Norscan Ice Wolves on the Demigryphs. This will actually prevent them from retreating. Karl Franz has gone down, which will greatly demoralize my opponent's army. His great swords are barely holding the line. They're falling apart. They're broken. Demigryph Knights are falling apart. Over here, the Werkin or the Skin Wolves have actually broken the Reichsguard, but it has taken them pretty severe losses. They lost about half their health. Not about 2/3 or about a third of their models were lost. But they're actually going to be able to run down the Reichsguard. They're just a little bit quicker, I do believe. Oh no, they're just a little bit slower. So, but with the charge bonuses, they should be able to stay on them for at least a little bit. Now I'm pushing my Workin straight through. And kind of you seem like a Gorbel. I think Workin can perform fairly comparable to Gorbel. They don't have as much mass, so they can't force path through. But they can do a lot of damage. They still have that bonus against Lars. They're incredibly mobile, which cannot be said for the Gorbel. As you can see, my opponent's army is just falling apart at this point. And his units all shatter. I don't know what the last unit that hasn't shattered is, but there we go. So, a very short, brutal match. I think this is basically how Norsca is going to play out. No matter what comp you bring, every match you're going to do, it's going to be kind of like with elves, or if you draw on a, well, kind of like with elves, it's going to be very short and brutal, rather than being drawn out into a bit of a trading slugfest. As you can see, the losses were actually not that favorable to me, but that morale break from Karl Franz and then the captain getting beaten down by Wolfric, forcing a break, was sufficient. Great Swords, of course, did well, and that was definitely a bit of a worry I had, so that's why I brought the Marauders with Grey Weapons to kind of shoot through those guys fairly quickly. The generic Empire Infantry didn't do too well. The artillery did a lot of work, and so did the crossbows, and that is definitely something Norsca's going to struggle against. Ranged, they don't have the greatest skirmish abilities, and their units are all incredibly squishy. As I mentioned, their highest armor they have, as far as I can remember, is 70 on the armored skin wolves. Maybe the chariots have a slightly higher armor value. I forget. Maybe it's like 80 on those. But for most of their armor, and maybe Wolfric, but for most of their units, the armor's only about 70. The Frostworms 70, I think. The skin wolves armored only 70, and the mammoths, the war mammoths, are only 70 armor. So they're very, very susceptible to ranged fire. Their infantry, of course, has atrocious armor. I do believe it's 15. The Marauder champions have decent armor. They have 80. So actually, that's the unit. There we go. I was forgetting some unit, but 80 armor. So they reasonably, most of their units max out at around 80 armor. So it's simply put, it's not particularly impressive, and definitely will get cut through by great swords very quickly. However, you can close the gap very, very quickly, and once you get rage going, the rage mechanic is very strong. So if you can close the gap, you can definitely tear through your opponents. The Marauder champions are actually incredibly nimble for a heavy infantry. They have 35 move speed, despite having. In most, the only thing they have worse than Chaos Warriors is actually, they are more expensive, but the only thing they do worse than the Chaos Warriors really is armor. Otherwise, they're better in basically every metric. And slightly worse charge bonus. But other than that, yeah, they're better. So incredibly mobile, 35 move speed, so you're not going to be kiting them with infantry, that's for sure. So yeah, fun game. I do hope you guys enjoyed this Norsca gameplay. I know a lot of you were probably looking forward to this sort of stuff. I was a little disappointed by how the skin wolves performed against Reichsguard. I was hoping for a slightly better performance, but I guess I shouldn't be too surprised given that the Reichsguard is well armored. But yeah, good game to my opponent. I do hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like or subscribe down below. If you have any comments, criticism, any other things you'd like to see in the upcoming days, be sure to post that up on the down in comments. I'll be sure to respond as soon as I can. I appreciate you all for watching, and Wyvern out.